Hello, this is John Locke from Lockedown Design and SEO, and today I want to talk with you for just a few minutes about why you should be wary of buying SEO packages and what that even means. Before I get into today's episode, let me tell you a little story. I had a prospect approach me for helping their manufacturing company gain in rankings. Now, this company is from out of town. They're competing with manufacturers all over the place. They're an OEM manufacturer, meaning they create original equipment that they sell to other manufacturers higher up in the chain. And in the past, they had worked with one of these low-cost SEO agencies that you might find in developing countries. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of good people out there. But the company that they worked with in the past, they didn't really deliver the results, and so they were out there looking again. And my contact at the company basically said that it came down to, Lockedown Design and SEO and this other company. And one of the things that was a factor was price. Now, my contact at the company, they weren't the one making the buying decision. The CEO of the company was actually making the decision, but they were advocating for us. Now, so the company, in the end, they did end up going with this other more generalized SEO company because they sold them a package. And even though the contract was at a much longer period, the monthly retainer was less. One of the things that I saw in this particular company, and it's something that I see in companies that are here in the US as well, is this idea that you're going to sell packages of stuff and that each month you're going to get, X amount of stuff. One of the things that I fiercely believe in is that is the wrong thing to focus on. And I understand why people do this, but I want to explain why people get frustrated with the results that they see from purchasing these types of packages. Now, let me preface this by saying as well, I do believe that this company that I was talking with, I do believe that they're going to come back and do business with us this time next year. And the reason why I say that is what they are selling is basically is a 10-month contract. The first month they would do on-page optimization. So I'm assuming tweak the title tags and make sure there's keywords on the page. And then the other 9 months was just link building and creating infographics. And I think right in the middle there, they were going to redesign their site too. So that's basically it. The only things they were going to do is 1 month on-page optimization, redesign the site, 9 months of link building. So where I have a problem with this is, let's just say for the sake of round numbers that the package that they were selling is, we're going to build you 40 links a month and it's going to cost you $1,000 a month. So the problem with this is instead of focusing on building the client's business and building the right type of links and making sure that you're creating the right type of content and doing outreach to the right people that are going to be able to drive traffic to the site and where their buying audience is actually going to read, I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that most of the links that they're going to get are going to be low quality and they're not going to move the needle. And here's why. Here's the thing. Not all links are created equal. Not every single link to your site is going to have the same effect. Some links to your site are going to have a greater effect than others. Google has a patent on a technology that would basically figure out the probability of people visiting a link on a given page. Say, for example, that you're building a link on a page that maybe 1 or 2 people a month visit, and the probability of people clicking on a link on that page and visiting a website is pretty low. And on top of that, the site itself might have little or nothing to do with the page that it's linking to. These types of links are going to be very low value when it comes to link building. But let's say that you're building a link on a page that is closely related to the page that it's linking to, plus it has a robust amount of traffic per month, and the probability that somebody's going to click on that link on that page is pretty decent. Those types of links are going to be more valuable in Google's ranking algorithm than just a random link on a random page that gets no traffic. The reason why I say this, companies don't put patents on things unless they intend to use them, or at least explore using them and seeing how effective they are in their business model. Back to SEO packages. What happens a lot in these SEO companies, it's basically a lot of outsourced work. You're getting a lot of people just trying to fulfill stuff. So the idea is you sign up as many clients as you can, and you're selling them links to where you can point at a report each month saying like, look, we built you 40 links. That's what you paid for. That's what you got. The problem is a lot of these links are going to be low quality. So for example, I did a little bit of research. The prospect company that I was talking to before, the reason why I say I know that they had worked with another SEO company in the past that was also a low-cost, low-quality provider is most of the backlinks in their current profile were from things like blog comments, forum profiles, where you get a link in your profile, a lot of random links that nobody's ever going to visit and that nobody's ever going to click on. That are probably on spam pages anyway. And I know because I get a lot of these on my site, and you probably get a lot of blog comments on your site as well. And if it's any type of moderated site, a lot of those go straight to spam. So think about the types of sites that allow just random blog comments that are completely unrelated to the article. And these are the types of links that you're paying for when you're paying $1,000 a month to a random company. So the other types of links that are really popular to build, say you're building an infographic, and then you'll cold email 1,000 businesses with a blog and try and get them to post that on their site with a link back to the client site. I get a lot of the same requests, so the infographics, unless it's something that's really helpful and really catches the attention of a lot of people and somehow goes viral, probably not going to get a lot of links from that either. Then what these SEO companies are going to do, the next trick that's in their arsenal, is they can build links by creating a bunch of fake Medium profiles, Blogspot profiles, WordPress.com blog. So basically creating a bunch of free blogging profiles to where they can throw up some random articles on a site and then link to the client site. Or maybe they buy a bunch of drop domains, they create some random sites from scraped content, throw in some links to the client site. Again, these are going to be like very random pages that pretty much almost nobody's going to ever visit. Nobody's ever going to click on those links, but it satisfies the contract of actually building these links. This is what a lot of these companies are building, and again, they're links that are not going to move the needle in any sort of way, and they're not going to do any sort of brand building for you and your company. And in the end, your SEO is going to be stuck in the same place that it was before. So the last thing that a lot of these SEO companies will do is they'll email people like me and my friends and everybody else in the marketing world or anybody who has a blog, period. And they'll say, notice you have a blog. We'd like to guest post on your site, and we'll pay you like $30 for an article to guest post on your site. Now, most people that I know will just flat out delete that, but there are people out there that will say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take $30, put a guest post on my site, and that's where they insert the link back to their client site. And again, if there's no context between the site that's linking and the site that's being linked, this is going to be a low quality thing. What these companies should do instead is focus on ways to build the actual company brand with a multifaceted approach for these companies. Content is one way, links is another way, but in my experience, you're not going to get a lot of links to your site without content that is unique and answers questions that people have. You're going to have to understand the market of the business that you're trying to help. So that was the third thing that I noticed about a lot of these SEO package type deals. None of them actually do an SEO audit of your site. They don't actually take time to understand your business, or they service like multiple different verticals. They might be servicing all kinds of random verticals from health to education to transportation. Your manufacturing site might be the very first site that they're actually trying to do SEO for, and so they actually don't understand your industry. They don't have any actual experience in making those sites rank, and so that is a problem. I'm not trying to pick on anybody from any one particular location. There's a lot of them that do this in the US as well. Again, I've had clients show me a lot of the materials that these companies send out, and there'll be things on their list like, we'll put Google Analytics on your site, or I will set up, XML sitemaps, and they might actually already have that. To go back to a video I did like very recently, SEO for each site is a little bit different. You can't just make blanket statements. What this site needs over here to rank might not be what this site needs over here, and that's why it's very important at the very beginning to do an SEO audit of the entire site and actually see what the strengths and weaknesses are, see who they're going up against, see what deficiencies that they have that you need to fill up, without just saying we're going to sell you 40 low quality links per month and redesign your site and maybe tweak your titles and descriptions, and that's it. In my experience and from what I've seen from talking to clients, from talking to different people, that is why people are so sour on SEO, is because they don't understand that there is a difference between the cheap companies that treat every customer exactly the same, and they don't really understand your business, and they're not exactly looking at what is wrong with your site. This is why I don't like packages, SEO packages. It's why I don't like website packages. You're trying to lump everything into the same box and treat every website and every business as though it was exactly the same as every other business and every other website, and that is simply not the case. The prospect that I was talking to, I 200% believe that they will be calling me back a year from now when their current contract runs out with this company, because I know that they're not going to get results. Straight up, hand to God. Sorry, guys. So if you have any SEO questions that you would like to see answered, put it in the comments below and then we'll answer it for you. This is John Locke from Lockedown Design and SEO. We help manufacturing and industrial companies rank higher in Google and other search engines, getting them more RFQs. Peace. Subscribe.